Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal this Thursday. I hope the week is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. We're nearly at the weekend. Arsenal in action, of course, on Sunday. No, Saturday. Sorry, Saturday evening, 5:30 p.m. at West Ham. Big game for them as they try and look to build this momentum that they've got over the course of the last week or so. The back-to-back wins against Forest and then Sporting, of course, and go to West Ham, win that game. They can then put their feet up, sit back on Sunday, enjoy their Sunday roast, and wait and see what happens at Anfield when Man City take on a Liverpool side who are sweeping all aside, including Real Madrid, of course, last night in the Champions League. We will talk about the Champions League a little bit later on in this show. Look at the league table after match day 5. Things looking a lot better for Arsenal now after this week. So we'll discuss that in today's show. I'm going to talk about strikers today, though, a couple of strikers in today's show. Also got some comments and questions from you guys as first, but strikers is definitely the topic to go on for today's show. I've got a question here from Aaron, which ties into what I wanted to talk about, really, because the news, I'm sure you've all seen about Evan Ferguson, Brighton, potentially letting him go on loan. I want to talk about Viktor Gyokeres as well after his performance against Arsenal in midweek. Now, the story in England at the moment, if you're not aware, is that Brighton are willing to let Evan Ferguson go on loan. He's not played much football. He's been injured, of course. While he's been injured, Danny Welbeck has been flying. João Pedro's come back, and he's just not getting any game time. Now he's back fit, just not getting much game time at all. I think he's only scored 1 goal in the Premier League this season in that remarkable game against Wolves not so long ago for Brighton. Now, this is an Evan Ferguson who previously, certainly under Roberto De Zerbi, was fantastic when he first came through. Scored that hat-trick against Newcastle last season as an 18-year-old. Looked a real talent, but then got the ankle injury towards the end of last season. He's just not really recovered from that. So he's seen his game time reduce massively, especially with Fabian Hertzler now in charge, and Brighton are willing to let him go on loan. And of course, someone like Aaron here says, "Hey Charles, I'm sure you've seen it, but Evan Ferguson of Brighton is available in the winter window. He's a player Arsenal liked and looked at in the past. Did not have the best season for the past 2 years. Did not have the best season for the past 2 years after a very promising first season, but he's still very young and also a homegrown player. He would not be the best solution to our striker problem, but could offer dynamism that Havertz and Jesus can't offer. Loan deal sounds fair enough to me. How do you think, Charles?" And Aaron's not the only person who's asked me this question, so I thought it was a good talking point from it. Firstly, look, I think Evan Ferguson's a real talented player. You've seen that before when he's been fit and healthy and in rhythm. You've seen what he's done for Brighton, and he is very, very talented. There's no doubt about that. He's scored against Arsenal in the past and looked very good against Arsenal in the past, and has been linked, as Aaron says, as a possible target for Arsenal. My issue with this, potentially for a loan deal, and I think it's a smart move by Brighton, to be honest, to let him go on loan in January, because he does need to play. And when you've got Danny Welbeck playing as well as Danny's playing at the moment, you've got João Pedro, who, by the way, I think is a fantastic footballer. João Pedro, really do. When you talk about potential strikers that Arsenal should be looking at, I have João Pedro on that list. I really like him. I think he's very, very talented. But anyway, that's a side note on this one. And so it just makes perfect sense for Brighton to have this really talented young kid who's not playing football. Let's get him out on loan. Try and get him into a rhythm, and because it's going to do him no good sort of scratching around for minutes. So I think that's a good idea for Brighton. From an Arsenal point of view, though, I don't really look at Ferguson as someone they should really be targeting in January. I just don't. I haven't got enough confidence that he'd stay fit, first of all, because his injury issues have been long running now. And if you're going to go and get someone on loan in January, that's basically you saying, right, we need you to help us get over the line in January. You need to help us achieve what we're going to achieve in January. I'm not sure a player who has barely played and is scrambling around for form is the sort of player you should be going for. It's just not. Evan Ferguson would be a really tantalising prospect for someone, a club lower down the league, maybe mid-table team, something like that at this stage of his development, and certainly at this stage of his injury issues. Not for a team who are, we all hope are still going to mount a real title charge over the second half of the season. I don't really see it working, to be honest. I think he's a really talented player. I'd be interested to see how he does when he goes out on loan, and if he hits the ground running, starts scoring goals, goes back to Brighton, gets himself back in the team, then that's someone for Arsenal to target a couple of years down the line, because he does have the attributes to be a fantastic Premier League forward. But for a loan deal to help through the second half of the season, I just don't think he's fit enough, or he's shown that he's fit enough at the moment and healthy enough and in form enough for Arsenal to make that move for him to make much of a difference. So it's not for me, Aaron, I have to say, not this time, but I'm very, very I'm very interested to see how he goes. If he does indeed go out on loan, and doesn't seem like that's a foregone conclusion. I've seen all the reports, obviously, but Fabian Herzl has been talking about him today in this morning's press conference, and this is what he had to say. I don't know where this information has come from, because I said to Evan that I'm happy he is here with the team. I'm happy with how he's training, what shape he is in physically and mentally. Of course, he is a young player and he needs more game time. He then added to, when he was sort of asked about what he would say to Ferguson, it's like, accept your role and make sure you bring yourself in the mood and the shape that when you do get the chance, you are ready. It is exactly that which I demand from Evan, and also what I said to him. I never said anything to him about a loan or anything like this. So, and to be honest, I mean, what Hertzler says and what Brighton as a club are thinking maybe doesn't marry up. You know, I can understand why Brighton might be thinking this is a good time to get him out on loan to play, but from Hertzler, maybe he's thinking, it'd be better for him to stay around so I can use him, because I don't want to weaken my squad. So I don't think just because Hertzler doesn't see it happening means that it won't happen. But yeah, from an Arsenal point of view, it's not really one that I think they should be looking at in January, I have to say. But if you agree, if you disagree with me, let me know, of course, in the comments below. Now, Viktor Gyokeres, from one striker to another, from Ferguson, who's obviously scrambling around for his best form, to Gyokeres, who's unbelievable form and is just, scoring at a rate that really only sort of associate with Messi and Ronaldo over recent years. But he's been brilliant. I mean, obviously, didn't have a great day against Arsenal, great night against Arsenal. Saliba and Gabriel were fantastic against him and shut up shop really, really well. I still liked what I saw from Gyokeres in this game, though, I have to say. And I've been reading through some of the comments that you guys sent in about him. Some saying, weren't too impressed by what you said. Others said you saw enough for him to suggest, he is a really talented player. See, I kind of fall on the latter side of the argument there. He really, he struggled against Saliba and Gabriel. But look, the best strikers in the world struggle against Saliba and Gabriel. They are that good. But I still saw enough of his hold-up play when they did go direct. There was a couple of times and he did manage to spin Saliba. The chance that he created for himself when he hit the post at the end, when he ran at Kivior, that all started from him sort of spinning Saliba on the halfway line and going. He showed really good pace. He's very, very direct. He's got such a powerful shot on him. So I liked what I saw from Gyokeres, even though on the large part, he was kept very quiet by Saliba and Gabriel. There was still enough from what I was looking at to think, yeah, he's a decent player. You all know my thoughts on it. Alexander Isak is my first choice when it comes to a potential new forward for Arsenal down the line. I don't think, by the way, that this is anything that would happen in January. I've said it before. I still think that if Arsenal do sign a striker, or when they do sign a striker, it will be the summer and not in January. But although Isak is certainly my first choice, from that real sort of close-up look of Gyokeres that we had, even though the pair of them did keep him pretty quiet, I still saw enough there to think he could do it in the Premier League. He's still got some work to do. He'd still come over and find it tough initially, but I think he's got the attributes to be a really successful striker. And there was enough from that performance from him, I thought, that convinced me that if he does come to the Premier League, that he could be a success. Whether he'll end up being worth the huge amounts of money that whatever club has to spend on him, that's up for debate, and we'll have to wait and see. But I saw enough to think he's going to be good. Again, let me know your thoughts on him. What did you see from him in that game on Tuesday night? Were there signs there that he should potentially come to the Premier League and Arsenal should look at signing him? Let me know your thoughts on Viktor Gyokeres, of course, in the comments below. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the Champions League table now after match day 5. Arsenal now up into the top 8, into the automatic qualifying spots for the last 16. 3 games to go, of course. Arsenal have Monaco, they have Zagreb, and they have Girona. That's right, isn't it? Did I say Girona last time? I got it wrong yesterday, and it is Girona, isn't it? I'm talking myself out of it, but I'm sure it is Girona. I think I said someone else yesterday, but they finished. Let me just double check before I get this wrong. And it is Girona. Yes, no, I was doubting myself. I can't remember who I said yesterday. I think I said Granada yesterday, and you all called me up on it in the comments, but it is, of course, Girona, who are not doing too well. You see them down there in the with just 3 points from 5 games at the moment. But with Arsenal's 3 games remaining, you look at that, you think there's a very good chance 9 points out of 9 is really, really possible. If Arsenal do that, then that will take them up to 19 points. They will be in the top 8 and they will qualify automatically, which will be fantastic. obviously. So they're giving themselves a real shot now. Some real teams struggling. I mean, PSG at the moment, look at that. 4 points from 5 for PSG. They are at the moment heading out altogether, not even qualifying for the playoff stage. I mean, Real Madrid only just ahead of them as well. Really humbling defeat again for Real Madrid last night. Liverpool's amazing start to the season continues with that 2-0 win at Anfield. Thought they thoroughly deserved it as well. Real just looked well off it. I mean, I know they've got injury issues at the moment, Real, but Liverpool were just far too strong for them. I thought, wait, Mbappe, he was always missing that penalty. Mbappe, he was so, if you watch it, he's got his eyes firmly on the referee the whole time. It's like he's desperate to take it. He doesn't want. It felt like he was just so nervous. He didn't want to just sort of concentrate. You know, he wasn't putting everything out of his mind. All he was waiting for was the referee to blow the whistle. And the second he blew it, he ran up so quickly to take the penalty. He just looked nervy and on edge. And I wasn't surprised at all that it was a poor penalty. Good save from Kelleher, but it wasn't a good penalty from Mbappe. And that kind of let Liverpool off the hook. And that's the way things are going for Liverpool at the moment. You know, everything is going their way. But look, they deserved it last night. They were very good. And I mean, you look at that, 15 points from 15 from them. You think they're almost nailed on now for a automatic qualification spot as well into Barcelona, Dortmund, Atalanta, Leverkusen and Monaco making up the top 8. And the fact that Monaco are in there, you know, shows that that's not going to be an easy game. They're next up for Arsenal in the Champions League at the Emirates. Of course, it's not going to be an easy game, but hopefully Arsenal can get the job done. If they do, then they're giving themselves a really good opportunity of qualifying automatically for the last 16. And here's what Charlie says about that. He says, with 2 home games coming up against Monaco and Zagreb, followed by a trip to likely already eliminated Girona, I'm feeling really good about us getting top 8. And it will be a really big thing. I've always been looking at it and thought, you know, top 8 would be nice, you know, absolutely nice. The lack of 2 extra games in such a contested part of the season in sort of February, March, it would be great. And Mikel Arteta was desperate for that to happen. But I never really look at it as it was the be all and end all. I still felt that if Arsenal did finish in those spots from 8th to 24th, they would qualify. They'd have enough to get through the round of 16. The last 32 game. So I didn't see it as a be all and end all, but obviously it's a big bonus to not have those 2 games. And now the position they've put themselves in with that win against Sporting, you've got to look at it and think, go on, you know, finish the job off now. And because you put themselves in such a great position. So yeah, I'm feeling good. Like you, Charlie, I'm feeling good about chances of a top 8 now, I have to say. William Saliba was talking about Martin Odegaard after the game. This sort of follows on from something I said in yesterday's show in how Bukayo Saka, when he said he's just got a big smile on his face when he saw that Odegaard was back. And I was saying that when you're a player, same as a fan, but when you're a player and you're in that changing room and you look around, if you're an Arsenal player and you see Martin Odegaard in there, when you haven't looked in the last sort of 6 weeks, you looked around, he's not been there, but now you look and he's there. It must make you feel sort of 10 feet tall because you know how good he is. You know, yes, he's your captain and everything, but you just know how good he is on the pitch. And that just must you feel so much better. And I'm not surprised we're seeing a more confident looking Arsenal now. William Saliba asked about him, said, look, I think he's one of the best midfielders in the world and we are so happy to have him back. We are better with him, so I hope he won't get injured again. Of course, we have to enjoy playing with him. We can see he's back. We can see he's back and we are better. He's a top 3 midfielders in the world. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I think top 3. I love this guy. He worked hard at the training ground, so I'm not surprised that he's come back like this. But of course, it's not easy when you haven't played for 4 weeks to come back at this level. I'm not in shock. He's a top professional. It's exactly that. I remember when he first got the injury, I said that of all the players who would do absolutely everything that they possibly could while they're injured to make sure they could come back quickly, but also in the best possible shape, it would be Martin Odegaard. And everyone that I've spoken to has said that he did that. You know, he's just constantly on it all the time. Any advantage he could take, he took it, working, you know, all hours at the training ground with the fitness staff to make sure he got back as quickly as possible and in the best shape as possible. And he's reaping the benefit now. I mean, it's remarkable the levels he's hit after so long out. He's coming back and he's just made it look so simple. I'll just smack the microphone. You know, you look back to the Chelsea performance when he came back, he'd had 1 training session basically, and 1.5 training sessions with the squad, and then put in a performance like that. He's just a fabulous player, absolutely fabulous. And yeah, brilliant to see him back. Long may his fitness continue. Looking ahead to the weekend game now against West Ham, we'll wait and see what Mikel Arteta has to say tomorrow. His press conference is at 9:30 a.m. at London Colney. Interesting to see what he has to say. I think team selection is going to be interesting. I should have flagged this up earlier, actually, but myself and James Ben just sitting down for Inside Arsenal extra time a little bit later on today. We're going to look at the game against West Ham in depth and look at the decisions facing Mikel Arteta in terms of his team selection, of course. If you want to get involved in that show, you know what to do. Start off, get down into the comments, start off with extra time, and then give us your question, your comment, your starting 11 for the game against West Ham, anything like that. We'll pull them together and get them included in the show. My thoughts on it, obviously, I think we're probably going to see a team much more similar to the starting 11 we saw against Sporting than the starting 11 we saw against Forest. I think that's how I'm viewing it at the moment. You know, you're looking at the players who came back in for Sporting. Martinelli obviously came back in. Thomas Partey came back in. Declan Rice came back in. Kai Havertz came back in. I'd be very surprised if they all move out again. You know, if we were all shocked to see Gabriel Jesus start against Nottingham Forest. I can't imagine that's going to happen again. I know Trossard came off the bench and scored in midweek, but I think Martinelli will probably start that game against West Ham as well. So some big decisions for Arteta to make, some good decisions. You know, it's the first time in a long time that we've been able to sit here and he's had loads of options available to him, and we've been able to sort of really debate who is going to play. And it's a lovely position to be in after such a difficult start to the season, injury-wise. But let me know your thoughts on it. And like I said, myself and James will be discussing it in much more depth a little bit later on today in our extra time show. So if you want to get involved in that, give me your thoughts on the team selection, the decisions that Mikel Arteta is facing in the comments below. Just one here from Real9269 who says, Timber is a game changer at right back. He is, like you said, so clever and intelligent with his general movement and use of the ball that he could probably play midfield as another option. He's quickly becoming one of my favourite players. Yeah, I think a lot of people are really, really taking to Jury and Timber now. Like I compared him to Lauren yesterday. I was surprised a few people in the comments seem to say, sort of see Lauren as a bad comparison, or, Lauren was an unbelievable player. Lauren, absolutely. I loved him. He was so, so good. Brilliant on the ball. Again, sort of a player who can play in midfield. Well, arrived as a midfielder, obviously, but just had that tigerish attitude, that commitment. He was just so, so strong. And Timber just reminds me of him so, so much. And he's like you, he's becoming one of everyone's favourite player. I think the right back debate is certainly an interesting one. I was asked about it. I'm doing some stuff with Sportmole now. And we were talking about that, and one of the sort of recordings we did with Sportsmole on the right back situation at Arsenal, I said it's like a toss of a coin between himself and Ben White. And a lot of people were saying, no, I don't think it is. I think Timber's now moved ahead in the first choice pecking order. And it's going to be an interesting debate when Ben White is back fit. But what a lovely debate it is to have. Just shows the strength Arsenal have in depth in that position. Real 9269 also says Partey is showing he needs to be given at least another year. His injuries are finally behind him. Touch wood. Then why give him away for free? There's no one in the world right now, and you have to keep hold of your special players. Yeah, interesting one. If Thomas can continue this, well, not form, because I'm sure he can continue his form because he's such a good player, but fitness-wise, if he can continue his availability, then it's going to certainly give Arsenal a decision make when it comes to his contract in the summer. And I know lots of you, I go through the comments, I don't know how White, so many people saying, oh, you've got an agenda against Thomas. It's like, what? I don't understand. I literally sat there yesterday saying how good he played, and yet somehow I've got an agenda. I don't get it. It's weird. He played very well. I said he played very well. I think I said he was excellent. I'm not sure what else I can say. And it's certainly going to give Arsenal a decision to make when it comes to Thomas, because look, there is no better player in his position, basically, in the Premier League when he plays as well as he's playing at the moment right now. We've seen that. The issue has always just been about that availability. If he's fit and he's healthy and he continues to be fit and healthy and he continues to be able to play every single week, then Arsenal got a big decision to make when it comes to that contract situation with Thomas Partey. All right, that's it from me, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I'll be back a little bit later on with James Benge, then back tomorrow morning for the usual show after Mikel's press conference, which is at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Until then, everyone, have a very good day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.